Hey everyone, in this video I'd like to share with you a list of jazz standards which I think will get you from beginner to intermediate level. If you've been playing jazz a little while and you're looking to kind of progress and look at more challenging repertoire, each of these jazz standards has something in them that will really challenge you, and if you can nail it then it will really kind of give you a sense of progressing from beginner repertoire like Blue Bossa and Autumn Leaves onto more complex challenges. Hey everybody! Jamie Holroyd here, helping you learn jazz guitar. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to jazz and you want a structured guide to learning jazz guitar from the very beginning, then please check out my free beginner jazz guitar course, which is listed and linked below. Let's get on with the list of what I consider to be the intermediate jazz standards. The first one that I'd like to talk about is Jerome Kern's classic standard, All the Things You Are. One reason why you should learn All the Things You Are if you're a guitar player is because it makes a beautiful solo piece. Let's have a listen to how this can work as a chord melody. One reason why this song works so well as a chord melody is because you can actually get started looking at this just by playing drop 2 chords. So if you know what drop 2 chords are, you can basically apply them to most of the chords on this song and kind of get a simple chord melody which sounds like this. Once you have that as a shell, there's all kinds of things you can do, as you heard in that intro video. You can even play it as almost like kind of a fugue or something like that, and it will sound like this. Besides being a solo piece, this is also a great blowing piece, something that's wonderful to improvise over. It's in a few different keys, which is what makes it challenging if you're basically coming at this from a beginner perspective. Basically the first 5 or 6 bars are in A flat, then you're in C, and then you're basically in A flat, then you're in G. So within 16 bars you actually cover 4 different key centers. So to combat that and to get around those kind of chord changes, you can play in key centers and that's okay. But if you really want to sound a little bit more authentic, then you've got to try and play it over each chord, which is where the challenge really begins. So here's basically a study that I've written out which will help you thread those chord changes together. It's kind of like my spin on a song called Prince Albert by Art Blakey, which is a contrafact of All the Things You Are. Basically what they did was they got the changes to All the Things You Are and composed a solo over it, and mine is not exactly the same as Prince Albert, but it's kind of influenced by it. So here's what you can do if you want to kind of get around the chord changes on this. Try and compose long linear lines over the changes. Whilst you might not improvise like this on the bandstand, it's having that kind of technical proficiency of the chord changes that is going to enable you to feel confident. The next jazz standard on this list is Have You Met Miss Jones? A lot of people say this is the forerunner to Coltrane's Giant Steps, which I'll explain in just a minute, but just for now, let's have a listen to how this sounds as a solo jazz guitar piece. It's a wonderful piece that can be played solo, so here's an example of that. The A sections in Have You Met Miss Jones are actually pretty straightforward. You basically have a 1-6-2-5 followed by a 3-6-2-5 in the key of F, 1 bar each, that's it, or at least that's the basic changes. In that chord melody I was adding a few more changes there, but just to get going that's all you need to know. The challenge for Have You Met Miss Jones really starts in the bridge, because you're basically kind of playing around with Coltrane's free tonic system. If you need to know more about that, then please check out the link to the video which has an explanation which basically kind of connects this song to Coltrane changes. It's something that's hard to kind of explain briefly here, but I've got a few videos that cover this in full depth. Anyway, even if you don't know all of that, I was playing this song before I kind of knew about Coltrane changes. One thing that you need to do, regardless of if you understand the theory or not, is once again try and thread all these key centers that seem far apart together by playing long linear lines. Here's an example of a bit of a solo which I composed a couple of years ago, which basically demonstrates how you can thread all these chords together. The last jazz standard which I'd like to talk about is Someday My Prince Will Come. This is a jazz waltz, and the good thing about this is that if you play it in your house and you've got family around, then most of them will actually recognise this. Unlike most of the jazz standards, this is one that's famously known for being on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I think it is. Once again, this makes a beautiful solo jazz guitar piece, so here's a rendition that I did of this a couple of years ago on my old Eastman John Pisano. When you first look at the harmony to Someday My Prince Will Come, it can seem quite intimidating. However, the good thing about this is you can actually play in the key centre for the entire tune and it will sound good. However, most jazz musicians do hint at the chord changes, so like my previous two examples, the way to get through these complex changes is to basically try and have long linear eighth note lines. Here's an example of me using some long continuous lines in 3/4 over the first part to Someday My Prince Will Come. That concludes my list of 3 intermediate jazz standards. I really believe that if you start to kind of sink your teeth into those, they will really kind of help you progress and feel like an intermediate. You should really kind of have a few beginner tunes down rather than start with something like that, but occasionally I do have a keen student or two that's really just kind of enthusiastic to get on board with something like that. So if you are newer to jazz guitar and you're starting with something like All the Things You Are, I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you're really determined and you're prepared to stick with that tune for like a month or two at least, then you know, you might be okay with it. So anyway, I hope this list helps you out. If it did, please like this video, and if you could subscribe to this channel, it would really help YouTube promote videos like this. Thank you as always to my wonderful Patreons that support these videos, and yeah, if you found this video useful, then please consider supporting me on Patreon to keep these videos coming.